One of the most infuriating things about people in Hollywood when it comes to like adapting like stuff like comic books and books is the unnecessary changes that comes with the creative process. And I say creative process. Honestly, I feel like people just change things for the sake of change and without any possible logical reasoning behind it. And it's incredibly annoying and very frustrating. And one of those things to this day that annoys me is the change of MJ in the Spider-Man home movies. I call them the home movies because they all have home in the titles of each of those movies. So it's like if you take something that's really well known, really popular, really good from the source, why bother changing it by either A, completely removing an integral character, or B, changing said integral character from the comics? It's just incredibly annoying. And the reason why I'm opening like this, because it sounds like I'm totally being a Debbie Downer, and this is just the fan inside me that's talking, because any logical fan of something would actually feel this way. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man producer explains why the characters like MJ and Tony Stark are missing. And if you haven't noticed, yes, those characters are missing from the trailer. Now, remember, this show is going to debut this month, January 29th on Disney+. And there's been a lot of mixed, I'm saying mixed responses when it comes to this, including the animation, which personally, in my opinion, I didn't have such a huge problem with the animation. I think the animation could have had a different style, sure. But overall, I think it looks just fine. The characters look kind of cool. Some look a lot more cringier than others, but you know what? That's here, that's said here and there. That's just me. That's just my opinion. But anyway, let's go ahead and discuss. So, Marvel Television chief Brad Winderbaum's recent explanation about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man confirms a significant change in the series' timeline. The animated show, originally set follow to Peter Parker's early days in the MCU, introduces a pivotal multiverse shift. Instead of Tony Stark's becoming Peter's mentor, Norman Osborn takes his place, marking a major departure from the established MCU continuity. Now, one thing that's incredibly frustrating and just really confusing, this show, before we even had any animation, maybe before we, just right around the time we only had concept art, if you can all recall, this show was going to be set to be, it was set to be a prequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. Then they changed it. Then it's not canon to the MCU, but it is canon because it takes place in a different timeline or a different multiverse universe in the MCU, if you get my drift. And it's like, what is it then? Because Tony Stark's missing, but it is canon to the MCU in a sense where it takes place in a different universe, but it's also a prequel to Spider-Man in the MCU. Like, what is it then? Like, what is it supposed to be? This doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they've changed this show so many times, from it being called Spider-Man Freshman Year to now being called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I don't have a problem with the title, but the story, the premise that it was going to be was that it'll be a prequel to Spider-Man Homecoming, or in this case, a prequel of his first appearance in Captain America Civil War in the MCU timeline. That's what it was going to be, and that's what we were all pretty much excited for. And the fact that Marvel Studios is behind this, because technically Marvel Studios has the rights, the animation rights to Spider-Man, we were all for it. And I'm like, cool, a Spider-Man animated series that takes place in the MCU that's canon to those movies. I'm all for it. Let's go. Let's have it. But it just doesn't make any sense to me what they're doing with this. And it doesn't make me that much more excited for the series. So let's go ahead and continue with the article. So here's why Tony Stark is not in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Tony Stark's absence from Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man results from a key narrative shift, according to Brad Winderbaum. He told the official Marvel podcast that the series begins at a familiar moment from the MCU, down to Peter getting the broken Blu-ray player from the trash, and he walks into his apartment for a famous moment where Tony Stark is waiting for him to offer the Stark internship to take him to Berlin. Winderbaum further explained, but because of things that happen in the multiverse, because of new random occurrences, it's not Tony Stark who's waiting for him there, it's Norman Osborn. The show explores an alternate version of Peter Parker's story with different relationships and influences. Executive producer Dana Vasquez Azahard, explained that the series starts after Civil War in the MCU's sacred timeline, but quickly diverges. We're starting at a point in the MCU where Civil War has happened, so the Sokovia Accords have been ratified. It's modern day, and and then Peter gets to his first day at Midtown, she said. Then a thing happens, which I'm going to try and dance around, and there goes our branch. It's a world where he never met Ned, he never met MJ. That's really okay. You know what? You can always go with the defense that, like, yeah, you know what? He never met Ned and MJ because it takes place in a different universe, so that makes it okay. I don't know, man. I feel like supporting characters like MJ, Ned, truthfully, if you want to talk about, like, if you want to go full down in comics, Ned Leeds was never like a major character in the Spider-Man comics or, you know, the mythos or anything like that. He was kind of like a one-off character that appeared here and there, but never served a major role in the comic books. He was an acquaintance of Peter Parker in the comics, but he was never really that important until he became like the Hobgoblin. But that was pretty much it. Aside from that, Ned is like almost, if not always, absent in Peter Parker's life in the comics. He's not a major character whatsoever. The series introduces Norman Osborn, who played by Coleman Domingo as Peter's mentor in an alternate storyline. According to Vasquez Eberhard, this change allowed him to include new supporting characters such as Nico Minoru. She's very different from Ned, and they fit so well together, Vasquez Eberhard mentioned. The series also brings in classic Spider-Man villains who wouldn't have fit into the established MCU timeline, so you're going to see some familiar faces, and if you're a fan of Chameleon, you're going to see a few of his faces. You're also going to see Scorpion, as well as Speed Demon or Butane. Head writer Jeff Trammell said in an earlier statement, "Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man features a 10-episode season with Hudson Thames as Peter Parker and will premiere on Disney Plus on January 29th, 2025. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. Like, I'm not super stoked, but you know what? You know, it's Spider-Man. So Spider-Man in pretty much almost any format except, like, you know, the little Marvel Kids superhero squad thing, if you know what I'm talking about. Pretty much Spider-Man in any format is an exciting time for me. I'm a Spider-Man fan, so bring it on, whatever. I'll check it out. I'll definitely be doing a review. But other than that, what are your thoughts about these changes? I guess you can say, like, this doesn't distract Peter Parker, and we get to see more Spider-Man action instead of, like, more romances and more distractions, I guess you can say. But, like, I guess that's my way of coping, I guess, but whatever. Anyway, you comment down below, let me know your thoughts, and if you're gonna see Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus, let me know as well if you're excited for it or not. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell notifications you all don't miss anything, and I will see you all in the next comic panel.